Alright, I want to do just one big video, hopefully it's not too big, just talking about, again, I apologize for this snake being on me. She's going to kind of, as I talk, she will basically crawl around and do whatever she wants. Okay, anyway. Yeah, I go back to school in 1 week after having broken my leg back in November, and I hadn't been able to go to school really at all, and yet I still got B pluses and A's. But I've basically been here healing the whole time, and I've basically had her out with me the whole time, so I only have like a week left to where I can just go and get her whenever I want. So I'm just kind of trying to chill out and have fun here. And I go to Denver on Thursday, so that's like my last little time of fun before I have to go back to school. Even though I am excited to go back to school, because I haven't really been back to school since October because of my broken leg. Anyway, I just kind of want to go over these lectures in here. This is a book that I believe came from 1918, and it was published in 1920, I'm not sure. I know that he gave the lectures in 1917 and 1918, and it was published. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, there are various lectures in here, and I've read most of them. And I kind of just want to go over. I've written some points down that I just kind of want to think about and talk about here. This is his philosophy of logical atomism. Now, this is very, very, very interesting, and this is a library book that I have to have back soon. So I want to do this video while I have the book. Logical atomism. This is a metaphysics that is based on logic. I'm going to go over why it is logical, why this atomism is logical. This is kind of going against various metaphysics like Hegel and other people before him that had some kind of metaphysical monistic concept that kind of said that everything in the world is coming from or springing from one kind of substance, i.e. Hegel's absolute. All of for Leibniz, all of his mind stuff being from monads. Those are monistic metaphysics that talk about substance being from one kind of thing. And he was kind of going against that. He was in this book. He talks about, in these lectures, he talks a lot about that. How the world is not like that. The world's complex and is full of multiplicities. He says that there are many complexes. This world is full of complexes that can be broken down into simples and their relations between each other. So this comes from, and this is like it kind of has to do with logic for various reasons, which I'll get into. And just like Hegel's metaphysics had a Hegelian logic with it. It's a metaphysical view of the complex world of atomistic facts. The world is full of complexes, and it basically itself all a huge complex. And essentially, this can be broken down into simples and their relations, thus facts or states of affairs. I love that word. I love that kind of concept. A state of affairs. That's nice. This comes from his writings on the philosophy of math, from Principia Mathematica, not from that, but the Principles of Mathematics. It was a book that he wrote by himself called The Principles of Mathematics that kind of caused a lot of this. he had something called the denoting concept that states that any logical atoms, like any kind of relation between two simples, this is a complex that any kind of complex or any state of affairs ultimately relates to a multiplicity of other facts. Let's say, like, numbers are odd, or there are odd numbers, is one fact. That corresponds to, this is, one fact, it corresponds to various simples, i.e. particulars and such. Particulars and properties. And where you want to draw the line on that, not knock yourself out. So a denoting concept is something before this book, these lectures, which says that whenever you have a simple fact or state of affairs, it's ultimately relating to or corresponding to a multiplicity of things outside of that. And in this, what is big in this, or in these lectures, is the idea of correspondence. Any kind of fact, or any kind of fact corresponds to something in reality. It corresponds to any fact corresponds to particulars, properties, and their relations between each other. And he talks about the kinds of relations in here. And I'll kind of write those down, what I mean by a relation here in a little bit. A correspondence, for instance, in the correspondence theory of truth, if you want a good book on theory of truths, see Richard Kirkham. That's basically the Bible on theories of truth. And correspondence, contrasted from coherence, is saying that just basically any fact, let's say we have the fact numbers are odd, that corresponds to actual entities that have, this fact corresponds to actual particulars that have those properties. This corresponds to actual numbers that have the property of oddness. So if you don't understand what correspondence is, I can talk about that. Hopefully I will this year. Talk about actually going to theories of truth, but maybe, I don't know. And this refers to something that also happened before this, which is the theory of descriptions. It states that propositions make up corresponds to a sentence which has meaning to what entity is meant by each word. Okay, that is hard correspondence. That's it has to do with meanings of each word, and he's very hard on the correspondence thing. That nothing is without meaning. Everything has meaning towards something. That's actually pretty. This idea of analysis, and that also goes big into, and that also has a lot of use beyond Russell, especially in the Vienna Circle and the era of logical positivism. Isabel, quit it. Yeah. There are two kinds of analysis. So if you ever wanted to know what the logical positivists, or not really them, but Russell means by analysis, there's two phases. There's the analytic phase, which it's merging with this certain theory, and it aims to work backwards from it and find certain beliefs and doctrines underlying it, or said to underlie it. So it's working backwards in order to find the bare bones theories or bare bones doctrines. Number two is the synthetic or constructive phase, which is rebuilding and reconstructing a original body of knowledge in terms of phase one, and one defines it in terms of the original framework. And it's from the minimum vocabulary of phase one. And it's deriving and deducing the theory's main tenets, and that's essentially what analysis is. So what exactly is logical atomism? The way I think about it, it's kind of saying that this is a complex multiplicity, and that there's this possibility with any fact or state of affairs in the world that it can be broken down into a logical sentence. That's not what he says, that's the way I think about it. That's the way I think about illogical atomism. It can be put into a logical statement or proposition, and it can be broken down and analyzed based on its atoms. The world is complex, and it's full of complex, independent entities in relation to one another. And this, basically, there's independent entities that are merging in relation to each other. They're independent and they're merging into relations that are monadic, dyadic, triadic, and so on. And I'll show you what I mean there in a little bit. Individuals, there are individual independent entities that enter into n-adic relations, which is saying any kind of relation. On atomic fact, it's a logical atom is basically saying breaking down these complexes and multiplicities into smaller complexes and basically down into simples. Complexes presuppose simples. And he also commits himself to negative facts, and he says that a molecular proposition is a atomistic fact compounded together with truth value connectives. So, for instance, a molecular proposition is one like this, because this is a relation here. Okay, and I'll just kind of show you what I mean by that here. What are you doing, Isabel? A logical atom is a fact devoid of complexity. That's kind of what I'm thinking about here, and I kind of want to do a little show you what I mean by relations. Okay, not that modal logic stuff. Let's see here. I'm going to use predicate logic. If you don't know what predicate logic is, then message me or something. This here is what I think of as a logical atom. This is predicate logic, which means that for x, it is the case that f is a property, x is any kind of particular. And if you wanted to, let's say we have also the another atom, Cx. That's another logical atom, I would say. And we could enter that into some kind of relation like this. For a certain x, it is the case that f and c. Those are kind of somewhat of a molecular proposition, but it's more like it's more like a complex, a small kind of complex. Now, what is meant by a relation? Okay, this one here, this is a monadic relation. This could be saying that A is related to itself in terms of R. Because that could be like a formula of identity or something like that. A dyadic relation is like this. A and B are related to themselves in terms of R. This is a triadic relation, A, B, and C are related to themselves in terms of R, and we can go on and so forth and so forth. Like this one. 4 things, X, Y, Z, and Z and W are related to themselves in terms of R. These are the relations, that make up this complexity. These relations make up states of affairs, and these relations and atoms enter into each other to create complexes and multiplicities. So these are independent things that are entering into relations with each other to have this. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. That's almost 16 minutes. So I think I've done what I was trying to do. If you have any questions on this, I would gladly do another video on this if you needed more clarity. This is very, very, very interesting. If you wanted, more thought on this kind of awesome kind of metaphysics here, and then I can totally do another video on this. Thanks.